It is a real privilege to take a peek at one of the most beautiful places on Earth. The so-called Coral Triangle, a paradise overflowing with coral reefs and considered the area with the greatest marine biodiversity in the world. Like a heart for our planet, its mission is to pump oxygen continuously through the enormous fields of coral that grow in its depths. The currents transfer this oxygen to the oceans, generating life. This area provides a home and protection for more than 2,000 species of fish and animals of all kinds. 75% of all our planet's coral lives here. In this series, we have filmed over 300 hours of underwater images, 2 years of diving, having the chance to see up close the uniqueness of all its inhabitants and the beauty of its surroundings. Sadly, it is in serious danger of extinction. The Coral Triangle occupies an area of 6 million square kilometers. It covers 18,000 islands in an area where the seas of Southeast Asia and Oceania meet. The volcanoes are permanent effigies in this part of the Coral Triangle. Here we are in the Banda Sea, and we're going to take a look around the island of Flores. These might have been painted, but in fact, this is their real color. They are the lakes that fill the crater of the Kelimutu volcano on Flores. They change color haphazardly. Here we have green, but it might well have been blue or brown. The Kelimutu volcano is quiet, but the color transforms for no apparent reason. These changes are due to the oxidation of the water from the volcano's subsoil. Kelimutu is in the center of the island of Flores, which owes its name to the Portuguese sailors who arrived here a couple of centuries ago. The island is located to the east of Java and south of the Celebes Islands, in the eastern part of the Banda Sea, which is the deepest sea on Earth, discounting the oceans. It reaches a depth of more than 7,000 meters in the so-called Banda Basin. It is surrounded by a number of archipelagos and has rich and exuberant wildlife and exceptional flora. The seabed looks to be covered in a permanent lush carpet, practically a jumble of acroporas and corals. Immediately after submerging, we see a certain mist in the distance. Let's see if we can find out its origin. An explosive nuptial ceremony is in progress. Giant barrel sponges expelling sperm. Quite a spectacle. They look like chimneys blowing out smoke as they launch sperm, which floats and can fertilize the ovules expelled by other sponges. The ceremony lasts just a few hours, but is tremendously intense and surprising. This happens a couple of times a year. Once fertilized, the ovules fall to the bottom, where they find a safe refuge, and the larvae will grow quite quickly. Yes, they are actually larvae, which means that the giant barrel sponges are animals. They have no tissue or any distinguishable organs. They feed by filtering the nutrients in the water that flow through them in a complicated process. We might be looking at chimneys originating in the center of the Earth. In a volcanic region like this one, that would not be unusual. But this is something more prosaic and more natural. It's a ceremony of life in its most lavish expression. Although the view is still cloudy, we can glimpse the flashing of thousands of anchovies lighting up the black and tubostrea corals, which grow powerfully, amorphous and anarchic. The anchovies collide with the walls of corals as they twirl around in a brilliant and attractive dance, which draws in the predators attracted by their presence. When a predator appears on a hunt, they all run for cover, like these golden sweepers, for example. And their silvery cousins. This is nothing strange, because the trevallies are nearby. These are big-eye trevallies, also known as big-eye scad. They always travel in a group, which gives them protection and allows them to work together when they hunt. They're quick swimmers, which makes it easy for them to catch their prey. They measure more than a meter long, and the ones we see here weigh between 12 and 15 kilos. In addition to smaller fish, they feed on shrimp and crabs. These large colonies swarm around during daylight hours, whereas at night, they hunt. In fact, during the day they can be seen far off because of the light filtering through from the surface, reflected off their silver scales. In these deep waters, the trevallies enjoy a constant supply of food. They can swim down to depths of 100 meters, but they usually remain at depths of between 10 and 15. In the daylight hours when they are not hunting, they enjoy the reef, the water at 25 degrees, and the occasional entertainment that seems designed for our enjoyment. It's clear to see that the island of Flores is teeming with life. Whichever way you look, you can see fish swimming in all directions. And fish that can see you. A pair of eyes is staring in our direction, but it's not what it seems. Once again on the reef, the camouflage confuses us. The signal goby has two spots on its dorsal fins that look like two eyes, to create an illusion of a large creature that can ward off possible enemies. This is not a ferocious animal hidden in the sand watching. It is a small, 6-centimeter long fish that is quite a poor swimmer because it has no swim bladder, an organ that allows much more natural movement in the water. A fish that feeds on scraps mixed in with the sand on the seabed. The seabed is the permanent home for the fingered dragonet. It has a long, sturdy spine on its first dorsal fin that is a danger for anyone stalking it. In this case, it also fans out its second dorsal fin. These are just 10 centimeters of unique fish. Now we can see this attractive mandarin fish, which looks like it's hiding from the camera. In fact, it's an animal that is not at all easy to spot. It belongs to the dragonet family and is notable for its blue color, caused by a chromatophore or color cell, which can reflect the light. However, it has no scales, just a layer of fat that shades its color. Every evening they come out of their hiding places to mate. The small creatures in the coral triangle have to resort to all kinds of strategies to avoid being the target of voracious predators. At any moment, a pair of dog-toothed tuna might appear. Or dozens of scalloped hammerhead sharks. This group of dozens of individuals has swum up from its usual depths of more than 100 meters to around 30 meters, where we can see them swimming here. They do this for two reasons: to rid themselves of parasites, or because the cold currents at the bottom have risen to the surface. They have an exceptional sense of smell. They can smell a drop of blood from more than a kilometer away, and their flat head gives them an extraordinary field of vision. They are in danger of extinction. More common on the reef are the white-tip shark. Although fishing for their fins and the female's gestation process, which happens only every 2 years, is diminishing their numbers at great speed. White-tip sharks are almost 2 meters long, and their range is usually around 3 kilometers, with depths ranging from 8 to 40 meters. They are aggressive if there is food around. Although here we can see them swimming around unhurried, they're quick and intuitive. And apart from the remoras that accompany them, they're also quite solitary. Notable features of their appearance are their long, rounded pectoral fins and the dorsal fin with its white tip, which is obviously their characteristic trait. While other sharks need to keep moving to breathe, white-tip sharks can do so when motionless. This allows them to rest in caves and cracks during the day. And when it gets dark, they come out to hunt. The Banda Sea has notable seismic activity because of the convergence of 3 tectonic plates: the Indo-Australian, the Pacific, and the Eurasian. It is also home to numerous volcanic islands, which over time have left their mark in the form of slopes of lava, on which the coral now grows vigorously. The triangle is in the center of the so-called Pacific Ring of Fire, which includes hundreds of volcanoes, most of them actively at rest. One of them is Comba, which rises imperiously from the Banda Sea and becomes active intermittently. In Indonesia alone, there are more than 100 active volcanoes, with a large nucleus located in the Java area. This gives us the chance to see islands with highly unusual formations. These cliff walls are formed of zeolite, a mineral that is created when water comes into contact with boiling lava and ashes, and which contains a large quantity of oxygen molecules. All the landscapes in this area, balanced eternally between the land and the sea, give us a glimpse of traces of minerals ejected by the volcanoes. These explosions feed the oceans, which are the major beneficiaries. And if it doesn't involve eruption, they do so by filtration. The Earth is breathing in a gently rhythmic but regular way. The heat of the magma in the subsoil leads to changes in temperature and creates small cracks. The seawater flows through them, creating hydrothermal vents. This area of the planet is also rich in reserves of methane, or natural gas, which leads to bubbles created by filtrations. Some places are covered in sulfides, caused by the reactions of natural chemical compounds, which provide considerable amounts of sulfur. This tapestry is the perfect hiding place for the devil stinger. They look like sediment, but this is actually the layer that covers this animal. It prefers nighttime to emerge from the sand where it usually hides, unnoticed. It has between 15 and 17 venomous dorsal spines, the perfect defense against predators. When disturbed, it unfurls its fins as a warning that it won't be easy to flush out of its territory. But when it moves, it does so by dragging itself slowly along the seabed. They measure around 25 centimeters, and their coloring ranges from ochre to red, in an attempt not to be seen. This is the key to successfully obtaining its food. It will wait patiently for a fish, shrimp, or similar species to pass by. The same technique used by this stargazer. It looks like a bas-relief sculpted into the seabed, as though it were made of stone. But when it sees prey above its head, it leaps upwards, opening its huge mouth. When it detects our presence, it settles down in cautious mode. It has two large spines, which are also venomous, and in some species deliver electric shocks. Its camouflage is extraordinary. And here we are again with the signal goby, or rather, two signal gobies. There they are, staring at us. Although it's difficult to distinguish which eyes to look at. And not by accident. Humans tend to look directly at their upper camouflage, which is exactly their intention. This way they protect themselves and can feed better by filtering the sand on the seabed. They are quite sedentary creatures, and they have something that makes them very likable, including the way they move in the water, as we've seen. The way the creatures on the reef move is intimately linked with their morphology and lifestyle. Also with the way they mimic their environment, otherwise known as camouflage. We're going to see some creatures that do little more than orient their movement and go with the flow. The pipefish. Obviously, the first thing that stands out is their ability not to be seen, using mimicry. This is an ornate ghost pipefish. Like others of its species, it lives in a vertical position because its body looks like a floating piece of algae. Consequently, in addition to adapting to its environment, its movements must not give it away. It has to move like an alga. An adult individual adopting a brown color. Very slowly, it examines the leaves of this sea plant with its snout, looking for food. It cannot swim. It fixes its position like a member of a synchronized swimming team. And that's the way it eats. Here we see an adult with its young, in development phase. It still hasn't reached the shade of coloring, but its fins have already taken on volume and consistency. Here we have the harlequin, another of the 6 known species of pipefish. Their differences are minimal and can be seen depending on their location and the camouflage they use. All of them are related to the seahorses, although they have a more stylized body and a tubular snout. It's practically motionless, observing the direction it wants to move, which it will have to do with the water currents, using its fins and body as a rudder. The species known as robust pipefish is the largest species, though it never exceeds 16 centimeters in length. It varies slightly in the size of its fins, and it really is quite difficult to see the differences between them. Especially if we are distracted by a needlefish arriving on the scene. Its appearance leads us to a different scenario, where a ghost goby is waiting and watching us. This is a dark and unsettling place. But what appears to be a skeleton when seen like this is actually a sea pen, also known as Penatulacea. It is born from a polyp that has developed individually, with new polyps sprouting from the central stem. The bulb of the stem is buried in the sand. Although this definition might refer to an alga or a plant, it belongs to the animal kingdom, and it comes in different colors. Some exhibit bioluminescence when the polyps collide while collecting plankton. The goby lives there, in symbiosis with this strange creature. Light is predominant on the reef, with the sunlight filtering through the water, and darkness gives way to an intense blue. Kilometers of unspoiled coastlines retain their beauty in the Banda Sea and on the island of Flores. Blue strips of water create estuaries in otherwise arid areas, and there are some islands which are only islands some of the time, depending on the tides, which would almost allow us to walk on the sea. Here the variations in the tides are just a few centimeters. Unless a storm disturbs the calm, it is welcoming and invites us to dive in and look for more interesting things to see, both unsettling and grandiose. The black coral is one of them, and these surgeonfish too.
So many years I've wasted days. Time was free.
A large school skirts around the black corals. They are yellow-masked surgeonfish, and the different shades of color we see are an indication of their age. As they get older, they change to a darker color.
Lightning storms make you glow. To the edge you always go.
Excuse me? Thank you. These yellow-masked surgeonfish get their name from the characteristic yellow band that runs through their eyes. They live at depths of between 5 and 90 meters, always in large schools. Let's make a small incision in the group to see where they're going.
I felt it all, the changes.
The presence of individuals of different ages creates a sensation of three-dimensional optics. Surgeonfish get this name because they have blade-shaped spines on their tail, which stand out when they bend it. The spines are sharp and cut like a surgeon's scalpel. Just as this group cuts through the sea on its travels. That spine contains lethal toxins in some species. They are defensive and not needed for feeding because they're very quick and agile, which makes them excellent hunters of small fish. We see the difference in the two worlds, where the smallest ones flee however they can. But this one is not fleeing anywhere. This Cassiopeia jellyfish has reached the end of its days. In Greek mythology, Cassiopeia boasted constantly of her beauty. Poseidon, the god of the sea, annoyed at her boasting, punished her by forcing her to live tied to a chair, but upside down. Our jellyfish also lived upside down, hence its name. The peculiar feature of this species is that it usually rests on the seabed with its tentacles pointing upwards. This individual is about to bid farewell to the reef. It's difficult to leave this place. If we were to believe in mythology, we would say that Poseidon did an excellent job looking after this sea. According to the stories, he was responsible for keeping the right balance in the oceans. giving value to the importance of water on the planet. He held power over the sea creatures and exercised strict control to prevent the supremacy of some over others. Historically, sailors feared Poseidon's wrath, or put themselves in his hands to enjoy a peaceful voyage. As a defender of nature under the sea, he would rise furiously from his mythological slumber if he were to see what we have allowed to happen with the seas and oceans. Here, although those gods didn't exist, there is the necessary symbolism in writings about them to keep the spirit of their message alive today. And something else that is necessary is that life should make way for life. And if it is done artfully, so much the better. A young barramundi shows its art as it swims around in amusing fashion. This species has been given a variety of common names. It is called Barramundi in Australia, but at other latitudes it goes by the name of humpback grouper or panther grouper. When it grows, it reaches a length of 70 centimeters, and its profile becomes somewhat deformed, with an elongated snout and a protuberant hump on its back. It's a vulnerable species because its habitat has been disappearing gradually over the years, as it likes very sandy, rough seabeds. Perhaps that is why it swims constantly with its head down. There has been considerable overfishing of this species because it's considered to have a more delicate taste. Its fin movement while swimming is reminiscent of Spanish flamenco dancers, whose dresses have the same design. And while we're on the subject of Spanish dancing, very nearby is this resting nudibranch called Spanish dancer. We're now going to witness one of the most intense ceremonies to be found in these waters: spawning. The stars of the show are a pair of cuttlefish. The male cuttlefish has taken over a patch of ground so that it can mate undisturbed. Now that the female is on the point of spawning, he stays alert to any possible danger. And he embarks on a strategy of attracting our attention away from the female. To do this, he can simulate flashing lights by changing color intermittently. Its 10 million color cells, called chromatophores, can be lit up and switched off at will. Similarly, it can immediately mimic its closest surroundings if it wants to. This is one of the most spectacular actions we can see on the reef. Meanwhile, the female searches patiently for the best nooks and crannies to release her eggs. She carries between 200 and 350. Which she will release individually through a retractable tentacle. She always looks for the best location to allow her young to grow with no risk. This is why she chooses hard corals with numerous gaps. The tentacles provide cover for the spawning ceremony. Slowly, she will deposit her eggs in the cavities. Generally, this is an intense ceremony because the female will die after spawning. The eggs will harden and will hatch after 4 or 5 weeks. Watch out for the color change about to happen. Cuttlefish can change their color, but also their texture. They have 200 color cells per square millimeter. To change texture, they contract muscles called papillas. The female withdraws. The cycle is complete. The island of Flores is melancholic in the way it opens up its world to the laws of nature. There are 14,000 square kilometers of wild, unspoilt, yet restful beauty. It forms part of the Lesser Sunda Islands, an arc of islands to the east of Java. It has more than 1.5 million inhabitants, distributed around an area of little more than 350 kilometers long by 63 wide. And the sea is their main source of income. The reef in Flores also has examples of Pegasus dragonfish or sea moth. This curious species looks like it has folded wings. It's really tiny and reminiscent of a pigeon chick. Diving tourism has arrived in the area thanks to its spectacular surroundings, because of the great environmental diversity, and because the island has other attractions inland. In the water, we discern a school of angelfish, eating the individuals of a spawn they have discovered. And the presence of their relatives, the emperor angelfish. Emperors, kings, princes. Flores itself is an island that could wear a queen's crown, given its natural heritage. These seabeds packed with coral are a long-standing asset that has suffered numerous setbacks, including a tsunami in the 1990s. But the collection of animals is never ending in the Banda Sea. Next in the catalogue is this school of humphead parrotfish. Recognizable from the protuberance on their head in their adult form, they are the largest in the species. They are unusual animals for a number of reasons. They occasionally use their protuberance to break the coral by headbutting it. When it's broken, they grind it up with their peculiar teeth. The result of grinding up hard coral is excrement in the form of a white powder that should float to the bottom quickly as sediment. However, this powder is transported by the currents and ends up on the sand of the beaches. An adult individual can consume between 5 and 6 tons of coral every year, which means they also generate a huge quantity of sediment for the seabed. They can live to the age of 40 years, so we can imagine the quantities of white powdery sediment they generate. They travel in schools and sleep in schools, normally in grottos. It's fantastic to end this chapter with such a typical species as the parrotfish. The unique nature of the island of Flores begins with its volcanoes and continues with its corals. It is densely packed with fauna. And coral fields. The phenomenon of the bubbles is both unusual and astonishing. Although astonishing, could also describe the extraordinary way the giant barrel sponges perform their mating ceremony. We have met the Cassiopeia jellyfish and numerous species of all kinds. Large ones like the sharks, and small ones like the signal goby. We have witnessed the spawning of a cuttlefish and other marvels of the sea. The island of Flores in the Banda Sea, with its reef teeming with life. A lung for the coral triangle.